I spent $300,000 to buy my parents their dream home, only to discover they secretly moved my sister in, threw a housewarming party behind my back, and told all our relatives that she paid for it. So I walked into that party, deed in hand, and destroyed their lies in front of 50 guests. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can understand how we got here. My name is Rachel. I am 37 years old. For the past 15 years, I have built my career as a senior portfolio manager at one of the most respected investment firms in Chicago. I worked my way up from nothing, and I do mean nothing. I was born when my parents were already in their late 40s. My mother had my older sister Vanessa 10 years before me. Vanessa was planned. Vanessa was wanted. Vanessa was celebrated. I was not. My mother never let me forget it. She did not say it with cruelty. She said it with something worse: indifference. She would be filling out forms for Vanessa's dance recitals, or helping her prepare college application essays, and she would glance at me and say, "We did not plan for you. You just happened." Those words stayed with me my entire childhood. They shaped how I saw myself. They shaped how I moved through that house, like a guest who had overstayed her welcome. If it were up to my parents, I might not even be here. But my maternal grandparents wanted me. They wanted a second grandchild. They convinced my parents to keep me. And from the day I was born, they treated me like I was the greatest gift they had ever received. My parents treated me like a burden they never asked for. Every single morning, my father would drop me off at my grandparents' house before work. He would hand me over to my grandfather and say the same thing every time: "You wanted her, she is all yours." Then he would leave without looking back. My grandparents' house became my real home. My grandfather was a retired mathematics professor. He spent hours teaching me about numbers and logic and problem solving. He would say, "Numbers never lie, Rachel. They tell stories more honest than people ever will." Those lessons would later shape my entire career in ways I never imagined as a little girl sitting at his kitchen table. My grandmother had been a high school teacher. Every afternoon she helped me with my homework. She made sure I understood every concept fully before moving on. She used to say, "Knowledge is the one thing nobody can ever take away from you." She also taught me how to cook, not as a chore but as an act of love. Those hours in her kitchen learning to measure ingredients and follow recipes became some of my most treasured memories. By the way, let me know in the comments which city you are watching from. I love hearing where this story reaches. My parents would only show up late at night to pick me up. They always looked tired, sometimes annoyed, like retrieving me was an inconvenience they had to tolerate. Every night before I left, my grandmother would hug me tight and whisper, "Rachel, you are the best thing that ever happened to us." In her arms, I could almost forget that I was not wanted anywhere else. My grandfather would add, "Remember, sometimes the best things in life are not planned." They became my emotional foundation. They gave me the stability and love that were completely absent in my parents' house. Meanwhile, Vanessa lived like a princess. My parents went to every single one of her school events: science fairs, debate tournaments, graduation ceremonies. They bragged about her constantly. Vanessa got straight A's again. Vanessa made the varsity team. Vanessa got accepted to her dream college. When it came to my events, they always had excuses. "We are too tired. We have work early tomorrow." You understand, right? I understood perfectly. I just did not matter. My grandparents filled that void. They attended every school play, every award ceremony, every parent-teacher conference. They sat in the front row with proud smiles on their faces. They made me feel like I was worth showing up for. When Vanessa left for college, I was 14 years old. I secretly hoped things would change. Maybe now that I was the only child at home, my parents would finally see me, finally pay attention. I was wrong. Instead of becoming their daughter, I became their housekeeper. The day Vanessa left, my mother handed me a list of chores. She said, "You live here, so you need to contribute. Your sister always did her part." That was a lie. Vanessa never lifted a finger. But now all of her imaginary responsibilities fell on me, plus a dozen more. I cleaned bathrooms. I did laundry. I vacuumed. I mopped. I scrubbed dishes every single night. By 15, I was cooking dinner for the entire household. My mother simply stopped one day and announced, "You are old enough now. I expect dinner ready when we get home from work." So while other teenagers worried about homecoming dances and first crushes, I worried about whether the roast would be ready by 6. Despite all of this, I kept my grades perfect. My teachers noticed my talent for economics and mathematics. They encouraged me to enter academic competitions. My grandfather spent extra hours coaching me on complex theories far beyond my grade level. He would look at me with pride in his eyes and say, "You have a gift, Rachel. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." School became my escape. I would stay late in the library dreaming about college. I would browse university websites, imagining myself walking across different campuses, far away from the cold silence of my parents' house, far away from the endless chores and the constant reminder that I was never supposed to exist. Then came Vanessa's engagement. She burst through the front door one Sunday afternoon with a tall man in an expensive suit. She squealed and said, "Mom, Dad, this is Kevin. We are getting married." You would have thought she announced she won the Nobel Prize. My mother burst into tears of joy. My father immediately started calling relatives. For months our entire house revolved around wedding preparations, guest lists, venues, flowers, caterers. Every detail had to be perfect for the golden child. Money flowed like water. Designer gowns, premium vendors, a champagne fountain, ice sculptures. The wedding cost more than most people spend on a house. My grandparents attended, but I noticed they did not seem impressed by the extravagance. My grandfather just shook his head quietly. My grandmother pursed her lips at the excessive spending. They knew something I did not. They knew what was coming. The day I received my college acceptance letters, I sat my parents down at the dinner table. My heart was pounding. I had 3 envelopes spread out in front of me. Acceptances from top universities, including one of the best finance programs in the country. I said, "Mom, Dad, I got in." My mother barely looked up from her plate. She said, "That is nice, but we cannot pay for it. We spent everything on your sister's wedding. We even took out a loan. There is nothing left." I whispered, "But you paid for Vanessa's college." My mother's voice turned cold. That was different. We saw potential in her. The silence that followed nearly suffocated me. My father finally spoke. "You should get a job. Save up. Take out loans. That is what responsible adults do." I had never left the dinner table without permission before.
That night I did.
I grabbed my phone and called my grandmother. Within minutes I was sobbing at their front door. My grandfather listened to the whole story. His face hardened, but there was something else in his eyes. A quiet knowing. When I finished, he took my hand and said, "Madison, we have been saving for your education since the day you were born. We expected something like this." He walked to his study and came back with a folder. Inside were bank statements showing years of careful savings, enough to cover tuition at any of those universities. He said, "You can choose whichever school you want. We have got you covered." That night I packed my things and moved in with my grandparents permanently. When I told my parents I was leaving, they barely looked up from the television. My mother said, "Whatever you think is best." I could hear the relief in her voice. If you are enjoying this story so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. The years that followed changed everything. I enrolled in one of the top business schools in the country. I studied financial analysis with a passion that surprised even my professors. Maybe witnessing my parents' terrible money management firsthand had sparked something inside me, a need to do things the right way. My professors noticed my dedication. For the first time in my life, people outside my grandparents saw real potential in me. I stayed after class, discussing complex theories. I devoured every textbook. I worked harder than anyone else because I had something to prove. During college, I landed prestigious internships at major financial institutions. My analytical skills impressed senior managers everywhere I went. One supervisor at a top firm told me, "You have a natural instinct for this. We want you back next summer." I graduated near the top of my class and was immediately hired by one of Chicago's leading investment firms. My starting salary was more than my parents made combined. I found a small, safe apartment, and every morning I felt grateful that I did not have to serve anyone but myself. I poured myself into my work. I climbed the ladder faster than anyone expected. Within 5 years, I had reached a senior position managing complex portfolios and major client relationships. I built a reputation for strategic thinking and precise analysis. Every promotion felt like silent proof that my parents had been wrong about me. Meanwhile, my grandparents kept me updated on the family during our weekly phone calls. Vanessa's marketing career had stalled. Kevin bounced between jobs and never stayed employed for long. They had twins, and suddenly expenses multiplied while income vanished. They started asking my parents for money constantly. My grandmother told me one evening, "Your mother emptied her retirement account last month to help Vanessa pay rent. They just cannot say no to her." Within a year, things got worse. Even with my parents' help, Vanessa and Kevin could not afford their apartment anymore. They moved back into my childhood home with the twins. My parents, who had always boasted about Vanessa's bright future, were now supporting her entire family on their shrinking retirement funds. I kept my distance. I focused on building my own life. Every bonus and successful deal reminded me that I was not the failure they had always believed I would be. By my mid-30s, I had substantial savings and investments. Enough for a down payment on my own home and then some. Then everything changed. My grandfather suffered a massive heart attack. He died before I could even get to the hospital. The loss shattered me. He had been more than a grandfather. He had been my father in every way that mattered. He believed in me when no one else did. He gave me the tools to build my future. My grandmother could not survive without him. They had been married for over 50 years. She lost her spark the moment he passed. Less than 2 months later, she followed him. I was alone. At the funeral, I heard my mother's voice behind me. She asked if I needed help with the arrangements. I turned around and saw her standing there looking older and more exhausted than I remembered. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave, but something in her face stopped me. I said sure, that would be nice. Over the next few days as we planned the service, my parents opened up about their situation. My father admitted they had not been financially stable since retirement. He mentioned the twins and how expensive everything had become. I realized Vanessa and her family were still living with them, draining whatever little money remained. 1 week later, we gathered in a small attorney's office for the reading of the will. Vanessa and Kevin slouched in chairs beside my parents. I sat across from them. The tension in that room was thick enough to choke on. The attorney adjusted his glasses and began reading. To our beloved granddaughter Rachel, we leave our home at 4721 Maple Drive, and the sum of $150,000. Silence. My mother gripped my father's arm so hard her knuckles turned white. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Kevin looked confused. The attorney continued. And a personal note to their daughter Linda. He looked at my mother and read aloud. Remember, Linda, that we gave you $200,000 when you needed it most. Just as we respected your needs, then we expect you to respect our final wishes now. My mother's face cycled through red, then pale, then gray. After the reading, my parents approached me in the parking lot. Their calm demeanor from the funeral had vanished. Desperation had taken its place. My mother said, Rachel, honey, you have to understand. We always assumed we would inherit that house. We were counting on it. The mortgage. Vanessa's family. We are struggling. My father added, the children need a yard. Vanessa needs space. I got in my car and drove away. For weeks I thought about what to do. The house held precious memories, but it was too big for me alone. Meanwhile, my parents' financial problems were getting worse. Helping Vanessa had drained everything they had. I made a decision. I would buy my parents a new home. Something better suited for retirement. Single story. Nice garden. Easy to maintain. A gift to help them in their final years. I used the money from selling my grandparents' house, plus my own savings. I found the perfect place. A beautiful ranch-style home in a quiet neighborhood outside Milwaukee. Wide doorways. No stairs. A lovely backyard. After the purchase was finalized, my father suggested throwing a housewarming party. He said it was the least they could do. I agreed. I planned to present them with the deed at the celebration. A fresh start for all of us. Weeks passed. Every time I asked about the party date, my mother gave vague answers. Still planning. Want it to be perfect. We will let you know. Something felt wrong. One evening, after another evasive phone call, I typed Vanessa's name into Facebook. We were not connected on social media. I had not looked at her page in years. What I found made my stomach drop. She had posted just hours earlier a photo of the house I had purchased. The caption read, so excited for mom and dad's housewarming party this Saturday. Cannot wait to celebrate in this beautiful new home. The comments section was full of confirmed guests. Dozens of family members and friends. Photos showed caterers setting up, decorations going up, moving boxes stacked in corners, boxes with Vanessa's handwriting on them. They were moving her family into the house I bought, without telling me, without inviting me to the party. I called my mother. I kept my voice calm. I asked about the housewarming date. She said, oh honey, not yet, probably a few weeks, still figuring out the details. She lied to my face. That Saturday I parked 1 block away from the house. Through the windows I could see dozens of people mingling inside. Twinkling lights hung from the porch. A welcome banner stretched across the entrance. Laughter and music spilled onto the street. I watched my mother in her special occasion pearls greeting guests at the door. My father gave tours of the home I had paid for. Vanessa's twins ran through the yard while relatives smiled and chatted. 50 people celebrating inside my property, and I was not invited. I sat in my car for a long time. Then I grabbed the folder from my passenger seat. Inside were the deed and ownership documents proving the house belonged to me. I walked through the side entrance. The smell of catered food and fresh flowers filled the air. I followed the sound of my father's voice to the living room. He was standing in front of a crowd, telling them after all these years of hard work we finally did it. We bought our dream home. My mother chimed in, and do not forget Vanessa. She helped so much with the down payment. Such a wonderful daughter, always thinking about family. Someone asked about me. My mother waved her hand dismissively. Oh, Rachel, she is too focused on her career to care about family. I stepped into the doorway. Actually, I said loudly enough for the entire room to hear. I think there has been a misunderstanding about who bought this house. Every head turned. Conversation stopped. Glasses froze halfway to lips. My father recovered first. He forced a tight smile. Rachel, what a surprise. I said, especially since you forgot to invite me to the housewarming party for the house I paid for. The silence stretched painfully. Vanessa's husband Kevin looked around confused. He whispered to Vanessa, asking why everyone seemed upset. My mother stepped forward. Her voice had a hard edge. What is done is done. The house is ours now. You cannot expect gratitude forever. My father added, that is right. This is a family gathering. Vanessa and her family need the space. They already sold their old place. It is all arranged. I reached into my folder and pulled out the documents. I said, you seem confused. This house belongs to me. I never signed anything over to you. I paid for it. My name is on the deed. I own it. My mother's face went white. I continued. I was planning to give you the deed tonight as a gift. I thought this could be a fresh start for all of us. But instead you lied to me. You excluded me. You let Vanessa take credit for something she never contributed to. You told our entire family that I do not care, when I am the only one who actually showed up for you. My father started stammering about family obligations and responsibilities. I cut him off. No, you do not get to lecture me about family. You dropped me off at Grandma and Grandpa's house every single day because you did not want to raise me. You refused to pay for my education. You told me I had no potential. And when I succeeded anyway, you still found ways to make me invisible. I turned to face Vanessa. And you have spent your entire adult life taking from them, taking their money, taking their time, taking their home. And now you tried to take the one thing I gave them. Vanessa opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I looked at the stunned guests. I said, I am sorry, but this party is over. This is my house. And I am asking everyone to leave. The next 20 minutes were chaos. Guests scrambled for the door, clutching plates and drinks. Vanessa's twins started crying in confusion. My mother tried one last manipulation tactic, screaming about how I was heartless and cruel. I did not respond. One by one, cars pulled away until the street was empty. My parents and Vanessa's family stood on the lawn, surrounded by half-unpacked moving boxes with nowhere to go. My father made one last attempt. He said, Rachel, please, think about the children. Where are we supposed to live? I said, you still have the money from selling your old house. Figure it out, the way you told me to figure out college on my own. I walked back inside and closed the door. If you are still watching, let me know in the comments what your favorite part of this story was. And please hit that subscribe button if you have not already. In the weeks that followed, I learned they had used most of the money from their old house to pay off debts. They ended up renting a cramped 2-bedroom apartment. Vanessa, Kevin, and the twins moved in with them. 5 people in a space meant for 2. They tried contacting me constantly at first. Voicemails alternated between furious accusations and desperate guilt trips. My mother left messages calling me heartless. My father demanded I reconsider. Vanessa sent long texts about how her children deserved better. I blocked all of them. I sold the house a month later. I donated a portion of the proceeds to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students. The rest went into my investments. Some people asked if I would ever forgive them, if I would try to repair those relationships. But I realized something important. Forgiveness does not mean letting toxic people back into your life. Sometimes forgiveness means forgiving yourself for walking away. My grandparents taught me what real family looks like. It is not about blood. It is about love, respect, showing up for each other without conditions. I made a promise to myself. If I ever have children, they will never have to wonder if they are wanted. They will never have to compete for my affection. They will never hear me say, I did not plan for you. The cycle of favoritism and emotional neglect ends with me. My grandparents gave me the foundation to build a life I am proud of. Their love was the one thing my parents could never take away. And now I carry that love forward. The chapter of being the family afterthought is finally closed. This is my story now. I am the one holding the pen. And I am just getting started.